Hey adventurers, welcome to the crew. I'm Sealord Janda, and this is my Let's Play of Pillars of Eternity. We've just finished making our way through and clearing the Temple of Eothas, and are making our way back above ground. This is going to be a combination inventory management and lore dump episode, so hang around if you enjoy it. If not, action will probably resume next episode. Right, so that's that dungeon cleared out. Now, we gotta pick which way we're gonna go from Gilded Vale. South or east are pretty much my options, I believe. Yeah, Grant's Fork or Easternwood. We're headed there, so I think south is gonna be the way first. What's this kid doing around here? You know, the temple's pretty cursed, but I did kill all the spirits, so maybe you're fine now. Generally, we're gonna go south, but let me take a look through our inventory first. I got books to read, and we got stuff to sell again, and all that. Yeah, fine is a property, so that must be the difference between regular and fine. Alright, let's see if we've got anything worth anybody wearing. I can wear a whole breastplate as a mage, huh? Yeah, I guess I can. Do we have any decent, Don't have any armor here. Do we have any in, No, we just have piles of clothing and leather armor. Scale, even, but it's not as good as what I've got. Loth's leather has minus 30% recovery speed, 10% ability area of effect. Not bad. Loth's leather armor has been lightly enchanted to enhance his spellcasting abilities. It also appears to have custom decorative patterns stitched into the surface. Unlike most deer wooden leather armor, the Loth's has been tailored in the Adir style, meaning the torso is more heavily reinforced, but it lacks sleeves due to Adir's hot and humid climate. That's basic. He doesn't have any armor. I should give him a cape and stuff, but equip myself first, naturally. A brigandine, huh? How heavy is... Ooh. Adir only wears medium armor? I feel like he should be able to wear heavy armor. Just reduces recovery speed. Alright, myself first, though. Is there any downside to wearing this helm? I feel like there isn't. I mean, there probably should be, because wearing this would mark me out as a target. But, like, I doubt that mechanically it's actually any problem. There's also this cap. It doesn't really do anything. So, leave it. Scroll, sword. Shields, etc. Hats. Hats are actually here. Let me see. Doesn't seem like there's any statistical difference between what hat you wear. Except for this really fancy enchanted hat that I found. Right. Gloves. There's no gloves here. Are there gloves in here? No. I've got my rings. Are there better rings? Does this one do? I forget what this does. Oh, it boosts endurance. Right, not a huge deal, honestly. Well, pretty good, actually, but... Dang, a ring of protection. Okay, putting that on instead of the ring of deflection. The other two can each have a ring of deflection. What's deflection even do in this game? Okay, it's just to resist direct melee and ranged attacks. So that's pretty good, actually. Obviously, it doesn't work against magic, I guess, but still pretty good. scroll. Cloak of an Eothasian priest. Well. Actually, would this work for him? Will opposes mentally based attacks. Okay. Put it on, Ader. He probably needs that more than us anyway. Meaning no, offense. Cape, hood, helm, alright. Rings. Haven't seen any foot armor or belts in the inventory, actually. No, it's almost all just generic armor pieces. To be fair, we've been fighting mostly monsters, so maybe they don't have real equipment. That's my dog, that's my grimoire. Sure. Weapons, right. I have a two-handed scepter, does 11 to 17 damage. This isn't a mage weapon, is it? No, I don't think it is. The most imperious looking magical implements, huh? Okay, so it's scepters, it's wands, and it's rods, apparently. We got a pile of random melee weapons, but nothing really interesting. Aloth also uses a scepter, which makes sense because he is a Diran. I always forget Ader has a bow, but it doesn't really. 11 to 16. Oh, this is much better anyway. He can't be fighting with the bow because we don't have anybody else to tank. This flail is fast, and it has draining, and grazes convert to hits, and it's fine. I feel like this would be a better weapon, really. It does less per hit damage. I don't know what the difference between average and fast is exactly, but with the draining and the convert graze to hit. Although it's not sharp. Does sharp just do plus 20% damage, or? Let's give him this. It seems appropriate for him. Shield-wise, he has this medium shield. It's very generic. I have a pile of them, but not anything better. Okay, so am I carrying anything that urgently needs to be equipped on anyone? I don't believe that I am. I do have 3 torches, but that's fine, really. Let me just look through once more. Potion, pry bar. Oh, the Brigandine is the only thing that maybe. Yeah. Ader. Brigandine or Saint's War Armor? Well, this armor that he has, it does have. It has, pierce-proofed and second chance. And that probably means that it's actually still better than Brigandine, yeah. Alright, let's, actually, I keep saying I've been meaning to do this, but I haven't gotten around to it, but let's read the books that we've got, yeah. What is this category? Quest items? For what? Or I feel like maybe we used it already. Oh well. Which of these? Do I have 2 parts of this? I do. Alright, let's read the Deerwood history. Part 1. Early Colonial History. No other land has such a wild and bloody recent history. From colony, to Palatinate, to Free Republic, the Deerwood has undergone a trial by fire to emerge as a powerful force of the Eastern Reach. Deerwood's history actually begins in Ader in 2602 AI. Adira explorers returned from a journey across the ocean with tales of the treasures they'd found. They'd discovered countless ruins scattered through the forests as well as plains to the north of the trees that would be perfect for growing Vorlis. There was a problem, however. The locals were hostile, and there was potential for conflict. The Fair Koning of Ader, first king, so like High King, I feel like it's like High King. It could technically be literally the first king, but knew that this was too good an opportunity to pass up and sent more explorers to scout and map the area. Exploration continued over the next 20 years. Small groups of explorers traveled back and forth between Ader and this new world, with a handful of colonists setting up small camps to establish a base for the explorers to work out of. Conflicts with the locals, who the Adirans learned are called the Glanfathans, were rare, but frequent enough for the Fairconing to send a small squadron of guards to help protect his citizens. These guards established a central base on a river in the western section of the woods. This settlement would eventually become the city of Deerford, upon which the modern-day settlement of the same name is village of the same name is presently built. Once that base was established, the first permanent Adiran settlements began north and west of the Bale River. Over the next 3 years, thousands of Adirans made the trek from Ader to this new land. The Glanfathans, who seemed to revere the ruins scattered through the forest, caused a few problems with some of the settlements, especially those founded near the ruins themselves. Okay, you know what's interesting about that is the Glanfathans are basically the Native Americans in this situation. But also, the ruins were not their civilization that we destroyed. They were already revering them when we got here, at least allegedly. Which is odd and interesting. So they must be some kind of forebear race, or the Glanfathans once had an empire that collapsed a long time ago or something. These were easily taken care of by the colonists with the help of the Imperial Guard. The Adirans, in order to further their foothold in the area, reduced the cost of production, and in an attempt to keep the Glanfathan population under control, started making slaves out of any Glanfathans captured during the uprisings. This resulted in a great increase in tension between the two groups. Yeah, as it would. With the population of the area growing, an official governmental structure was established by the Fairconing. He appointed several earls to preside over the land and assigned them thanes to help run their territories, and they called the new Grefram the Deerwood. Well, earl is probably an earl, and thane is like the Scandinavian version of some kind of knight-type figure. I don't know what a Grefram is, but I assume it's the equivalent of like a county or a duchy or something in the Adiran government structure. Deerford remained the center for the Imperial Guard, but the settlement Pearlwood Gulf, New Dunreed, was the true seat of power for the area. Sitting at the edge of the ocean, forest, fertile farmland, and a river that runs from the coast to the White March, settlers flocked to the area hoping to establish names for themselves. Ader began to spread across the new land. Let me read this one now. The Deerwood, Part 2, The Broken Stone War. In 2626 AI, a group of farmers, while clearing farmland for planting, accidentally knocked down one of the ancient Adra menhirs on their land. This innocent act drew the ire of the native population and started what would come to be known as the Broken Stone War. When it was finally over, several thousand colonists had been killed, as well as hundreds of the Glanfathans. Glanfathans got a pretty good KD ratio, huh? Even though the war was technically over, the Glanfathans escalated their attacks on the settlers over the next 2 years, using vicious tactics that left many colonists, several military figures, an earl, and 6 thanes dead. Unable to stop the Glanfathan attacks, the earls elected Earl Edrong Hadrit to the position of Gref. Well respected and known to be a master of military tactics, he was tasked with dealing with the Glonfathan threat. Edrang fought with the Glonfathans led by an Orlan named Regt for the next 2 years. Neither side could gain the upper hand on the other, resulting in a tense stalemate between the two groups. Because of this stalemate, the hostilities slowly died off, and in 2631 the Deerwooden people signed a treaty with the Glonfathans. Regt would step down, the Glonfathans would stop their attacks altogether, and the Deerwooden people would leave the ruins alone. This treaty angered the nobility in Ader, as it brought to a halt the supply of artifacts. The Edrang also tried to get the practice of slavery outlawed, but this was not successful. Because of this, the peace between the Deerwood and our Glonfath is uneasy and tumultuous. Small patches of rural violence still cropped up, but were easily dealt with as neither side wanted another war. Aside from continuing the process of annihilating the natives, this presumably is clearly laying the groundwork for Deerwood becoming independent from Ader, because, first of all, they're organizing their own independent military structure, and clearly Ader wasn't helping them that much. And second of all, they're having a dispute over this artifact thing, which is in the interest of Ader, but not Deerwood. Alright, I don't have part 1 of this book, I don't think, but maybe nobody cares about lower ranks anyway, right? Yeah. Development of a Crucible Knight Part 2, Senior Ranks. Commander and Forge Master. Once a path is chosen, the knight's life is spent training in his preferred discipline. The pomp and formalities that surrounded his life up to this point are all but gone. The training is far more rigorous, and there's less ceremony to mark his progress. For most knights, Commander, Body, or Forge Master, Soul, are further than they will ever advance. The training of a knight at this level, while almost exclusively in the discipline he has chosen, is still rounded out with instruction from the other. A knight is not truly a knight if he does not have a full breadth of knowledge. When he passes from Justiciar to Commander, the knight is given a blue cape to wear with his plate armor. When a Templess rises to the position of Forge Master, he's presented with a white cloak. I have no idea who these Crucible Knights are either. I've not encountered any or anything, but found this book about them. Marshal and Crucilar. After time spent training, an elite knight that shows true leadership potential and promise is elevated to the next level. A knight of the body becomes a marshal, and a knight of the soul becomes a Crucilar. At this point, he's in command of a small group of knights, Commander, Forge Master, and below. He's responsible for the recruitment, initiation, and advancement of new squires. Many knights do not want to advance to this level and beyond because the role becomes less hands-on and more advisory. Marshals are known by their purple capes, while Crucilars are distinguished by a gold cloak. Is that a little white cloak for Forge Master? Okay. Lord Justiciar and Grand Templess. A marshal or Crucilar that shows true and effective command over the knights in his keeping may be offered the position of Lord Justiciar of the body or Grand Templess of the soul. Truly a command position, a knight that accepts one of these roles will be removed from the front lines. Because of this, it's only the most dedicated leaders that take either of these positions. Lord Marshal and Grand Crucilar. There is not a single knight that oversees the entire group. This responsibility is split between the Lord Marshal, body, and the Lord Crucilar, soul. Any knight that advances to this position does so only with the support of the knights as a whole. He must be nominated and selected by a majority of the knights. Once in this position, he is there for life. The Lord Marshal or Lord Crucilar may step down from his post if he so chooses, but only to retire from the life of a knight. The stress and responsibility of this position is such that many refuse it even if capable of handling it. Lord Marshals and Crucilars are well known and generally respected throughout the land, not just within the knights. Okay, this is a religious text, yeah. We got several of those down there and maybe elsewhere. 10 years of dawn. 10 years I tilled the vorless leaf, and 10 years I told myself that living in St. Waidwin's footsteps would bring me rebirth. Each dawn I'd pray that if thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee light, and yet each night would bring me the same emptiness. For my decade of living as a simple dye farmer, all I have to show for it is a great deal of purple clothing. Eothas has not spoken to us since he appeared as St. Waidwen. It was my hope that Eothas would claim me as his next vessel, but alas, the Child of Light remains silent. Every day I practice the ritual of banishing the shadows of the unfaithful, and every day I work my fields in solitude without sign of Eothas returning. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee light. But how long must I remain lost in this long night of abandonment? Is this my punishment for keeping my faith a secret? Is Eothas hiding from me until I shout my reverence for all to hear? Surely he must know that the dear Woodens now hate him and his followers. My countrymen are quick to blame all that was terrible about the Saints' war on those of us still faithful to Eothas. Should they not be angry at the Rayad-Saras soldiers? Do the dear Woodens not realize that to dismiss the god of rebirth and redemption is to prevent all hope of healing? As I pen these words, I know that I must continue to till the dye leaf. I will awake each day with hope. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring me light. Each day I will pray that the dawn stars visited me, just as they visited St. Waidwen in his field of Vorlis. Will they come to me as they came to St. Waidwen, as a man and two women, luminescent and perfect? I'm told they come to presage new times. I'm told many things, and I struggle to find the faith to believe it all. And yet, each morning, the sun rises in the eastern sky, and each morning Eothas illuminates my simple plot of land, casting away the shadows of the unfaithful in his golden gaze. I thank thee, Eothas, for all the springs I've had and for all that will come. I am in darkness. Please bring me light. Alright, so this guy is obviously an Eothosian faithful who's still faithful and hoping to be the next vessel. Probably not really a good person. I mean, it's pretty clear that this Saints' War. Apparently Eothas, at least allegedly and maybe really, appeared as an avatar, or used this St. Waidwen as his avatar, and seemingly tried to forcibly convert everyone and conquer Deerwood, and lost. So it's kind of not surprising that everyone hates him now. Although if he is factually the god of rebirth and redemption, that could explain why things are kind of terrible now, but it doesn't really seem like that should be a conqueror god either. What else do I have? I read this. Admeth Hadrit, Part 2, Rebellion. Alright. I feel like I'm missing one part in between maybe, but over the 5 years following his ascension to Gref, Admeth attempted to mend relations with... This is more like Deerwood in history, but I do feel like maybe there's a part 1 of this that I don't have, but I'm going to read it now anyway. Admeth attempted to mend relations with the Glonfathans and bring his land together with theirs. He enacted laws that restricted the taking of new slaves, allowing Glonfathans to buy their fellows out of bondage, and imposed a tax on slave ownership in order to promote the use of free labor. While there was some resistance to these new laws, the Fair Koning's attention to Rayad-Saras and Admeth's power, backed by the colonists, made it difficult for the Earls to truly resist what was happening. So the Gref is acting more and more as an independent ruler. In 2662 AI, in the year of the 10th anniversary of the War of Black Trees, Admeth brought about the end to slavery in the Deerwood. Now we've heard about this War of Black Trees. I assume that's what's in this missing part, probably, but I think the gist is that that was the war in which the Deerwoodens basically broke the power of the Glonfathans and burned their forests to the ground, probably. He negotiated a series of treaties with the Glonfathans, wherein a timeline was established for the official emancipation of all remaining slaves. Each owner would receive compensations in either land or money based on the number of slaves freed. If they didn't comply, the slaves would be seized and their former masters would suffer a substantial fine. In return for this, the Glonfathans opened trade routes with the Deerwood and allowed Deerwoodens to live in and near areas that had their sacred ruins, but they are under no conditions to enter the ruins. As a final act of goodwill, Admeth freed Galvin Reg, saying he'd suffered sufficiently for his actions. He was the guy who was the leader of the Glanfathans, so yeah, that just indicates further that the Glanfathans lost the War of Black Trees real badly. The Farconing, seeing he was completely out of control in his own Palatinate, devised a plan to get the supply of ancient artifacts running again. He approached the Earls, suffering under Admeth's rule, and convinced them to hire agents to raid the ruins. Initially, they did so in secret, but they quickly became sloppy, eventually being caught. This breach of the treaties incited Glanfathans again to acts of violence, while Admeth researched who was behind it. With help of the Glanfathan leaders, Admeth found evidence that pointed back to the Farconing as the source of the raids. That was the beginning of the end for Adiran rule in the Dyrwood. Over the next 7 years, Admeth and the Farconing maneuvered around each other, playing political, economic, and military games in order to gain the upper hand. In 2668 AI, Admeth declared that the Dyrwood had had enough. The Farconing would no longer be recognized. The Dyrwood was now a free entity and would govern itself. This started the War of Defiance, which lasted 5 years. The end result of the war was freedom for the Dyrwood, and though Duke Hadrit would never live to see it come to a close, the people of Dyrwood consider him the founder of the country nevertheless. Fair enough. This also explains why people are so xenophobic towards the Adirans, because they had to fight an independence war with them, although also presumably means a ton of them are of Adiran descent. And the timeline on this, I feel like, is only like 60 years, so... Right? 2626, and then... Wasn't the first settlement only like 2602? Yeah, it only took like 60. That's an awfully short timeline, really. Only 60, 70 years to have enough of a population to declare itself independent. Well, maybe. If there was enough settlement. Monsters of the Deadfire Archipelago. The archipelago winds its way between the Great Eastern Ocean and the Restless Ocean. Hundreds of small islands in the midst of the water. Few dare brave its treacherous rapids, and fewer still have returned to tell tale of their adventures through it. Travel between the two oceans is virtually impossible. Great storms hammer any ships foolhardy enough to attempt to navigate, and this alone should be enough to deter anyone from attempting the voyage, as untold ships have gone down, tossed against the rocks. The weather and treacherous rocks are only a precursor to the actual horror of the archipelago, the terrors of the deep. No one knows how many creatures stalk the oceans waiting for unsuspecting sailors to drift into their waters, but we do know of some. The Barbed Ravager, a giant shark known to ram passing vessels, trying to knock sailors off the deck and smash a hole in the hull. It has tremendous spines protruding from its side and back that are presumed to be poisonous. The largest sighted Barbed Ravager, with survivors, was estimated to be almost 30 feet long. The Winding Serpent. Smaller than the Ravager, but potentially longer, the Winding Serpent attacks in small packs, usually 3 to 8. They have long, sharp heads, somewhat reminiscent of a barracuda. Like the Ravager, they repeatedly slam into the side of a ship, hoping to crack a hole in it or knock someone from the deck. They've also been known to swim to the depths and shoot up out of the ocean, landing on the deck, coiling and winding their way around, snapping up any crew they can before plunging back into the ocean. Leviathan. Imagine the largest whale you've ever seen. The Leviathan is at least 10 times that size. By the time a ship sees a Leviathan, it's already too late. As they rise from the depths, the water around them begins to spin and sink, creating a whirlpool. The Leviathan's body surrounds the hapless vessel, preventing escape, and as it goes down, the enormous mouth opens, pulling all aboard to their watery deaths. Polpavir. All the creatures you've read about in this book are nothing compared to the Polpavir. Barely the size of a man, what they lack in size and strength they make up for in numbers and terrifying viciousness. Their lower halves are a mass of tentacles like an octopus or squid, but more numerous. The tentacles are long, black whips with suction cups on the underside and small, thorny barbs on the top. The sheer number of tentacles gives them frightening speed when walking on land, pulling themselves forward almost as fast as a running horse. Though that's pretty damn fast. While they vaguely resemble a human from the waist up, any extended examination proves how wrong that assumption is. Long, stringy black hair falls from the top of their heads to cover a face taken directly from a nightmare. A wide, gaping mouth cuts across the bottom of its head from ear to ear, full of wicked, dagger-like teeth. 2 large, round eyes are sunken into its head, black as coal, shining with a malevolent fire. A small antenna protrudes from the middle of its forehead, ending in a small nodule that can glow with an eerie blue light. One can imagine a sailor on the deck of his ship at night, looking out across the black water, blood freezing as countless lights appear beneath the surface, rising toward him as the pulp-of-ears swarm upward. Fun? Because they seem to be more octopus than man, they can collapse in on themselves, fitting into spaces no person should be able to. The smallest crack in a hull, the slightest separation between boards offers them entrance. It's not unknown for them to slaughter an entire crew from hold up to deck by infiltrating the ship from underneath. Fortunately, they don't seem to have spread too far outside of the archipelago, but there may come a day when pulp-of-ear attacks become commonplace. Wow, yeah, the Deadfire Archipelago has got big problems with sea monsters. Wonder how they handled this in the sequel. Get to it one day. How many books do I have left? 1, 2, 3, probably 4. The Great Western Stag. I think these are all religious texts too, yeah. Didn't realize this one was, but it is now, clearly. It's a fable about Eothas, it looks like. One day, Eothas was sitting on a wall, watching a cat play in the sun. A crystal, hung in a nearby tree, had fragmented a sunbeam and scattered small motes of light on the ground. They danced around the cat, sliding over him as he frantically batted at them. He spun in place, following one as it rushed past him, and leapt on it, trying to pin it down. Eothas smiled, amused at the animal's tenacity. The cat landed on a spot, placing his paws over it, only to watch it flit away again. Eothas watched the cat's tail twitch and slap at the ground, annoyed that his prey could not be pinned. "Why must you tease him?" a voice said from behind him, accompanied by the crunch of sandals on gravel. "I merely bring the dawn," Eothas responded. "I don't stoke the hunter's heart. That's your responsibility, isn't it?" "True," said a second voice, "but neither do you quell it. If the hunter could not see his prey, would he still hunt?" "So philosophical, Hylia," Eothas said, and turned to greet the 2 gods that approached him. "Have you come to debate the parallel between sight and desire?" He gestured to the wall, inviting Hylia and Galawain to join him. They sat in silence, watching the cat who continued to hunt the sun, fruitlessly swatting at another mote and then rolling onto his back. "I have created the ultimate prey," Eothas said finally, breaking the silence. "It can be tracked, it can be followed, it can be seen, but it can never be caught." Galawain laughed lightly. "You don't agree, Galawain?" Eothas asked. "Well, it's true that your creation is elusive. It hardly can be considered the ultimate prey because it never can be caught." He paused, his brow furrowed in thought. "If that mote of light had substance, the hunter could subdue it. Otherwise, it's merely a dream, truly a fruitless endeavor." "All creatures spend their lives chasing fruitless endeavors," said Hylia. "It is the way of mortality." Galawain laughed again. "I could create a creature, a living creature of flesh and blood that could never be caught. I make your dream a reality." Now it was Eothas' turn to laugh. "You propose turning a fruitless dream into a fruitless reality? How's this any better? A life spent in pursuit of an attainable goal far exceeds any other." "But you just said no one could catch this creature. This is not attainable." Galawain smiled. "Humanity has surprised us before. Indeed, it could surprise us again. I will create a great white stag and set it free in the land. It will have grace, resilience, and tenacity. It will exist solely to be pursued for all its days, and it will never be caught. It will serve to inspire the hunt for generations to come. All those who wish for glory will invoke my name. All those who hear its story will ask for my blessing in finding it." Hylia shook her head and threw Galawain a bemused look. "I do not believe this is possible, so I too make an offer. To the person who catches this stag, and they will catch the stag, I will bestow upon them its grace, resilience, and tenacity. Thrice blessed they will be. They will ask for my blessing on the hunt so they can obtain my boon." Galawain and Hylia took up arguing whose name would be invoked more when the hunt was on. Iathos sighed, a small smile playing at the edges of his mouth. He stood and looked to the sky. The sun had already started to hide itself behind the mountains. The cat, long ago tired of the stalking the moats, had fallen asleep beneath the tree. He turned and looked at the other gods, deep in debate, and sighed again. I merely bring the dawn, he repeated as he made his way down the path. It is up to you to see what I reveal. So there's a pantheon. So I wonder why Iathos has such specific... I wonder if there's a movement to like a monotheist sun god type thing. It doesn't usually work out well. They tried it in Egypt once, I'm pretty sure. Iathosian prayer. And the sun shall break through the darkness, the new dawn arriving with the rebirth of the day. Rejoice, all ye who dwelleth in the shadow, who are broken and beaten. The winter soon comes to an end. Spring shall rise, bringing light and life to the world. Radiant light, radiant life, and thy soul shall find warmth in his arms. All creatures bask in his glory. The rays of his countenance bathe the world, bringing an end to the night, ushering in the day. Kneel before him and wonder at his benevolence. Feel the warmth of his radiant presence. If thou art broken, he shall make thee whole. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee to the light. If thou art sinful, thou shalt be reborn. If thou art cold, his warmth shall bolster thee. How canst I, so lowly and worn, speak words of proper adulation? Thine eyes, whose gaze sees the sin in me, yet still shows love. Thine hands, whose grip pulls me out of darkness. Thine ears, listening to my every prayer. Thine heart, bright as the dawn, giving me warmth when I am raw. Iathos, light of spring, sun of the world, that givest me life and purpose. If thine heart be black, if thine intention be impure, thy life is forfeit. For he hath seen, he can see, he will see. Nothing is hidden from his glory. His light touches every corner of the world. Nothing is hidden from his sight. If thou doest thy work in the dark, if thou wouldst keep thine actions hidden, thou shalt be burned in the sun of the new dawn. Day comes soon, prepare for the dawn. Nothing is hidden from his reach. A pretty standard sort of prayer. It does make me even more wondering about maybe the sun god monotheism theory. Daily affirmations of focus and efficiency. I feel like Ader had this book already, I think. 1. All errors can be reforged into lessons. Abaddon rebuilt himself from ruin. No setback is insurmountable. Not even death itself, so long as the soul is dedicated to the task. Well. 2. Well, I guess not in a reincarnation society, maybe, yeah. 2. Work hard, work well. Abaddon demands only honest labor and forthright service. All errors can be reforged if your first intentions are pure. 3. All ignorance can be reforged into knowledge. Master your craft. Excel at what you've been trusted to do. Do not offend your teacher by remaining a student forever. 4. Each generation must forge its successors. Teach your trade to all who are willing to learn, and in doing so, multiply the fruits of your knowledge. 5. All difficulties can be reforged into triumphs. Meet strife with humility and acceptance. Let adversity temper the ingot of your will, and you will never shatter. 6. Embrace your station. Fulfill the duties of your rank and meddle not in the affairs of your betters. All guilds fail at their weakest link. 7. All loss can be reforged into strength. Profitable work heals all emptiness. So long as you have the tools of your trade, you will always be able to forge wealth anew. 8. Value the works of others, and they will value your works in return. Share the harvest with the hungry, and your tools with the destitute. 9. All souls can be reforged into whatever we will. Hard work is not exclusive to life. Death is no time for complacency. Commit yourself to excellence in this cycle and the next. It's unclear to what extent this is religious exactly. I feel like, is Abaddon a god? Probably. I wonder if he's a god of smithing. I feel like this is something a god of smithing has put out. Could be wrong. Maybe I need to find a list of the gods somewhere. Anyway, I'm going in here so we can sleep and I can sell stuff. Hey, bartender.
Well met, friend.
Right, sell. This, and this is a fine weapon. Maybe I'll keep it just in case we find something. I want to keep the deerwood histories, I'm not going to keep the rest. That's very generic. Don't need that. I guess I could have somebody put this cap on, but it's not actually useful. Don't need that. Is that light armor? It's good light armor. I'll hold on to it. That's part of the... Hold on to that. Wow, I'm not selling very much, huh? Great sword, that's generic. I think this S-Stock is just better. Looks like it. Yeah. Wolf hide. Note. I don't need that one. Fine sword. To be fair, if nobody's using it now, I don't know who will, but I'll hold on to it just because it's fine. I don't need the religious texts. Why is this worth 13? It's just a generic note. Trap? What are the odds that I actually remember to set a trap at any point? Probably nearly 0. Brigandine, I'll hold on to. Prayer book. This note. Get rid of. I feel like that's Aether's, so I'm going to leave it with him. Bear hide. Random spears. Shields. Cape. I'll hold on to the saber in case I feel like the flail's not working out. So sell all that. I'm gonna sort of organize all this by... Okay. And then here we have just piles of random garbage. Even if we find somebody who uses daggers, these are very generic daggers. I assume they'll come equipped with their own already. A rod. I could use that, technically. It's, oh. Mouse. Wireless. It just died. There we go. Small shields. Don't need them. Hatchet. Daggers. Crossbow. Battle axe. More daggers. A rapier. None of this is good equipment. It's just highly generic. I feel like anybody who uses any of it is probably just going to have better. How does a rod work relative to a scepter, actually? It actually does more damage, but it's slower. Interesting. I didn't really pick... I mean, I didn't pick the scepter. I just had it by default. Scepter is faster attacking. Rod does more damage, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Maybe I'll use the rod, actually. And Aether can use the scepters. Alright, let's... All this I don't need. That I don't need. None of this. Highly generic cape. Why is this in here? With the food, anyway. Did I move it there manually at some point by accident? Oh, maybe this is where... Well, I'll put it back in the main inventory. I guess I can't while I'm in the sell menu. Probably don't need that. Maybe I'll hold on to that. Sell all the wolf hides. So do I really need 3 torches? I guess we got 3 party members. Yeah, I'm gonna sell 2 of them. Yeah. Or did those just go when I reclaim them? I'm gonna stick with selling 2 of them, I think. Absolute piles of these. Oh wait, hold on. The mushrooms and things maybe I should keep. These, I have to assume, I'm pretty sure these gems are just to be sold. The other stuff might be used for crafting, but the gems, I'm guessing, are just to be sold. Actually, that's a fancy... No, it's just a gem. The gems, I assume, are just exist to be sold. Maybe everything in here does, but... No, oh, it's all ingredients. But I don't know what you would use gems for. None of the gems I've got are all that valuable, so I'm going to go ahead and just, not those, sell them all. Alright, I mean 700 copper pieces. The inventory is filled with random weapons and shit. Oh yeah, could I buy... Do you have crafting or camping supplies for sale here? That I would buy. Okay. And then we'll sleep. And I'm going to get this out, and I'm going to wield it. I guess I could just put that as my second weapon set, huh? I could pick and choose if I wanted, mid-combat. Just put the scrolls in the quick items if I want to actually ever use them, I guess. There we are. And oh yeah, who wants a hat? You have a hood. Okay. Eloth, you want... not Eloth. Ader, you want... We should have this helm. Here you go. Have fun, buddy. Okay. Reorganization done. It is now finally time to move on from Gilded Vale. We're gonna head, I believe, south to Magron's Fork. But that'll be another day. For now, possibly as soon as Thursday, certainly Saturday if not. But for now, thank you everybody for watching. If you're on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Hope everybody has a nice day. This is Sea Lord Janda, signing off.